Good morning, and welcome to Lake Country Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Claudette, and my pronouns are she and her. I am your worship leader this week. We welcome all of you to our service, especially those of you who are searching for a spiritual home. Many of us were once too seeking for something larger than ourselves to which we could belong, a sense of rootedness to hold us as we create meaning together. We do that well here, though not perfectly. In this congregation, we strive not for perfection, but for authenticity and connection. Whether it's your first time with us or your 100th time, we hope that you'll find here questions that stretch you, people to befriend you, and values that challenge you to join us in loving boldly, living justly, and welcoming openly. If this is your first time here and you have young children with you, our nursery is available throughout the service for little ones, and we have a quiet play area for any age over in the back. After the message for all ages, kids can follow the lantern to their classroom. Children are always welcome to join these classes or to remain with us throughout the service. And as always, everyone is invited to join us for beverages and conversation in the social hall after the service. As we settle into our time for worship, please silence your cell phones. Welcome.
Come into this place with your whole self, the parts that are raw and exposed, the part that is maybe beaming with joy, the part that is seeking the truth, the new, the possibility. Come into this place, open your heart, lay down your burden, lift up your hope for something new to happen. Come into this place with fellow travelers on the journey, some faces new and others familiar, and all welcoming you here now to this moment. Come, let us worship together.
Our first chosen reading today is titled Earth Day by Arush Day, age 13, and this poem won an Earth Day prize. Imagine a world, lush fields of green grass, rolling waves nudging a beach, triumphant mountains sprinkled with dove-white snow, clans of trees bundled up together, yawning canyons waking from their deep sleep, a world we have to imagine. Earth provides us, nurtures us, and lets us be free. She trusted us with new innovations, new forms of recreation, and new ways to please us. What she didn't do was hurt us, or desert us, or make us impure. We did. We turned on her. We polluted her. We resented her. We didn't care for her. Yet still she forgives us. She gives us ripe red apples, friendly little animals, and stone-cold caves that give us shelter. She blessed us with wild creatures that we made extinct, the dodo bird, the woolly mammoth, and even the great white rhinoceros. We only cared for ourselves. Our evil landfills, full of broken promises. There is only one way to truly help Mother Earth. Once a year, there is this magnificent day when we honor Earth and give her our pay. We reuse, reduce, and recycle as much as we can. We don't use plastic bags, don't eat too much meat, and don't keep the water running. Earth deserves that every single day. Earth deserves to be pampered with love and affection. Earth deserves to be cradled by her children that have abused her for centuries. Earth deserves to see her creations in harmony with one another, not fighting wars and terrorizing each other. Earth Day is a day to celebrate Earth's beauty and to remind us again how lucky we are to have Earth as our planet. Reading number 2 is For the Children by Gary Snyder. The rising hills, the slopes of statistics lie before us, the steep climb of everything going up, up as we all go down. In the next century or the one beyond that, they say, are valleys, pastures. We can meet there in peace if we make it. To climb those coming crests, one word to you and your children. Stay together, learn the flowers, go light.
In case you haven't gotten the memo, there's going to be a fire drill at the end of service today. For some, this might seem like a quaint little throwback to our grammar school days when the fire alarm meant that we would get a reprieve from algebra class and we could go out in the schoolyard and just hang out with our friends for a stretch. It'll have a little bit of that, I promise. We tend to forget, however, that it was the Triangle Shirtwaist factory fire in 1911 where 146 garment workers lost their lives that led to those fire safety precautions most of us kind of take for granted these days. A single woman named Rose Schneiderman, a prominent socialist and union activist, used that fire as an argument for factory workers to begin to organize. And this led to a committee on public safety to be formed, headed by Frances Perkins, who, if you know history, you've heard her name as well, who was also an eyewitness to that fire. Specific problems were identified, and with the help of public pressure, new legislation was lobbied for. Changes were eventually made not only to fire safety codes, but 38 new laws regulating all aspects of worker safety were passed based on that effort. Many folks today you hear say that they don't like government overreach. But this event is a reminder that in this country, we the people are ultimately the government. And if something is wrong, it is our responsibility to try to fix it. This coming Wednesday is Earth Day, an annual event designed to demonstrate support for environmental protection that was first held on April 22nd, 1970, about a month after my birth. At this point, over 1 billion people in more than 193 countries now participate in events supporting this effort on Earth Day. As we think about things like worker safety and environmental protections, it is important to remember that any cause we currently care about typically has a history. And many movements for change can take decades or even lifetimes to reach their full effect. So it's also important to know where you currently sit on the arc of any type of social change that you are interested in. Where are you in the arc of that history? Combined with the current events that are impacting current history, all those things can inform where your efforts can be most effective if you are interested in affecting change in one system or another. We often think of the environmental movement as getting its start in the late 60s or early 70s, but the history goes back way further than that. The first part of this story is actually a scientific awakening that began all the way back in the late 1800s. In 1896, savant Arrhenius published the first calculations predicting that human-driven emissions would cause global warming. Amazing. Soon after this, international efforts to document weather and carbon levels began, transitioning climate change from a theory to measurable evidence. Aldo Leopold and Rachel Carson were early thinkers that began to sound the alarm regarding the negative impacts human actions were having on the planet. Carson's book, Silent Spring, was published in 1962, galvanizing public concern over pesticides. In 1963, the Clean Air Act was passed. In 1970, as I mentioned, the first Earth Day was celebrated. And in 1973, the Endangered Species Act was established. This was a clear phase of activism and legislation. And the population as a whole became aware of some pretty significant issues. Political pressure was mobilized, and laws were passed. Since I was born the same year as that first Earth Day, my earliest recollections of this collective awareness came from Sesame Street and the public broadcasting system. And the truth is, those puppets were an early and effective tool for infusing young minds with important information, and likely had a profound impact on my focus later in life. Social change, if it's going to happen, needs to happen at all levels. The 80s and 90s were a phase that included both environmental activism and a significant growth in resistance to those efforts in the form of delay tactics and the casting of doubt on the science by many deep-pocketed lobbyists that preferred business not be interfered with by government regulation. The late 90s were marked by a significant push-pull between international diplomacy, which led to agreements like the 1997 Kyoto Protocol, and significant counter messages on climate denialism. And this was also a period of significant personal action. Communities implemented recycling programs, and individuals, like many of the folks in this room, drove significant communal local action, like organizing the Adopt a Highway efforts that our friend here has been doing for the last 25 years. Did you know that we have been going out for the last 25 years and maintaining a stretch of highway that Jerry has been leading? We need a new leader for that, by the way. Come see me after service if you're interested. Thank you, Jerry. Also the helper that created the solar panels that allow the creation of clean energy to power our needs, and also which is going to be the meeting point for us to gather after this fire drill. The 2010s to the present brought a systemic shift. The focus moved from individual action to demanding immediate systemic change in energy and policy. There was global mobilization. The youth-led movements such as Fridays for the Future brought intense pressure for urgent climate action. There is now a focus on significant action. The current fourth stage emphasizes decarbonization and ambition loops between policy and innovation to help accelerate progress. And even more recently, there's an emerging awareness that climate change disproportionately impacts vulnerable communities, demanding equitable solutions. There's an understanding that we may have already reached a tipping point, that mitigation might not be enough, and that we may now have to begin developing plans for major public works and infrastructure projects to attempt to reduce the impact of unavoidable climate disasters. I heard on NPR on the way here this morning that March was the highest temperature across the United States in recorded history by 9 degrees. I took you through this long historical walk to highlight the fact that changes to human systems can take a lifetime to emerge. There are stops and starts and long gaps where it seems like nothing or little is happening. But then all of a sudden, sometimes big changes do seem to suddenly emerge. It is also a reminder that many of the issues that cause us concern these days are human-created, along with the truth that it also takes the sustained efforts of concerned humans to course correct if we see that things just don't seem to be going in the right direction. So where does that leave us today? Is there anything that you see in the world today that just might seem a little out of balance or seems to be going completely in the wrong direction? For you, is that the environment? Is it affordable housing? Is it immigration? Or maybe it's the whole political system that you think is due for a reform. Who do you think is responsible for fixing things that seem to be clearly broken? If not us, who? And if not now, when? Unitarian Universalism is a faith tradition rooted in the type of thinking that was behind much of the history that I've shared today. It's important to understand the history of this faith tradition so that we can understand what our faith is calling upon us to do. Both the things that we've gotten right and, as Claudette reminds us, the things that we've gotten wrong. Ours is a living tradition designed to evolve as our understandings evolve. Ours is a faith that supports thinking and reflection and action to drive needed change in the world. We educate ourselves as best we can about the impact of the choices of our lives. We work to adapt our current practices to create the best outcomes that we can hope for. And we monitor the results of our efforts to determine what's working, what's not, and what might be having unintended consequences that we need to account for and adapt in our future efforts. Ours is not a passive faith. Ours is a faith that asks each of us to take responsibility for whatever small part we can impact, and to try to align our efforts so that our impacts on the larger systems that we are a part of can be as positive as possible. For some of us, that might only relate to our personal choices. For parents right now, that includes making the best choices you can for how you raise your children. For business and community leaders amongst us, it might mean evaluating the impacts your efforts are currently making in the community and considering if any changes might be warranted. And for the social activists among us, that means reviewing the current landscape, understanding the precedents that created the current issues you are rallying against, and considering how to best align your efforts for maximum impact. I know that in this current day and age, it is very easy to feel like our individual efforts don't amount to a hill of beans. Many of the battles that need to be waged will pit us against multinational corporations with deep pockets and close ties to government officials. Even more imposing than that is the realization that many of the entrenched systems that seem to be leading us off a cliff are grounded in colonization mindsets so baked into the wood of who we are as a society that many of us can't even imagine or begin to comprehend that we might actually be part of the problem. The world seems to be changing at a pace that humans can barely keep up with. And I recognize that this can make all of us feel a little bit helpless sometimes. But I am here to tell you that hope is most assuredly not lost. We can still be the change that we want to see. But it takes intention, it takes organizing, and it takes openness to change. And ultimately, it takes a little bit of faith. It's easy to say that Unitarian Universalism allows you to believe anything and has no dogma, but that's not actually true. This faith has a belief in the agency of people. It is grounded in a realism that says we have to approach the world as it is, not as we wish it were. And we need to align our efforts to address the problems that we see with the best solutions that we can muster with the information that we have available at this time. Large-scale systemic change takes organization and sustained effort over time at multiple levels. We come here to consider what it means to be human and what it takes to develop healthy, informed citizens of the world. I've come to find out there's currently a small informal group of folks in this community beginning to ask the question, how might we do church differently? And I think that's a vital question. Because in a living faith tradition as ours, how we do church impacts how we do life. And how we do life collectively has the power to change the world. Next week, I'm going to be talking about Sophia Lyons-Faz. She is credited as being the pioneer that broke from thousands of years of tradition using the Bible as the sole source of Sunday school lessons to the curriculums that we use all the way till today that focus more on universal values and the development of critical thinking skills. And the surprise in that sermon will be the significant impact that two little churches right down the road from us, Racine and Kenosha, played in that transformation. They were doing the things. Sophia saw it. Sophia made it big. That's right. The ways Unitarian Universalists teach their children today has roots in a church not dissimilar to ours, right down the road. Doing church differently leads to doing life differently. Many of the things we do today are done similarly to the ways things have been done in churches for the past 2,000 years. Some of what we do in church is timeless. Basic human needs don't change all that quickly. We all need a solid foundation of safety. We all need to make sure that our basic needs are met. And we all need ways to make sense out of life. But while those basic human needs tend to be pretty stable, our collective needs actually can change pretty rapidly. And it is this change that requires us to consistently consider what we are currently doing and determine if new ways might need to be considered. It is very easy these days to feel helpless, like nothing that we could do could actually make a difference. But I am here to tell you that is not the reality. In fact, that belief is intentionally manufactured by the parts of the system that want to maintain the status quo. History tells us that those that are comfortable with the current system that insist on maintaining the status quo usually have the most to lose. If you've not already come to this conclusion on your own, I'm here to tell you that the status quo of where we are and how we are doing things right now is not sustainable over the long term. Change is a constant. And if we are unwilling to change, we'll find ourselves becoming obsolete as the world continues to change around us. Change is going to come. We can either attempt to react to it, or we can attempt to guide it. And it is my hope that collectively we can do the latter. Informed by our history, inspired by those that came before us, strengthened by the power of the community, and grounded in our spiritual practices, we are well positioned in this faith, in this community, to be the change we want to see in the world. Next week, I'm also going to introduce some new ideas like the progressive stack, which is a thing that's designed to help make sure the marginalized voices actually get to speak first. I'm going to introduce some new ideas about how we organize everything based on some cutting-edge Black authors that have been imagining completely new ways of organizing society based on how sea creatures have survived and continue to thrive. We have the tools. We know how to practice best practices. We can positively impact the future if we are willing to do the work. The question I will leave you with is this: are we prepared for all of life's upcoming fire drills, whatever they are and wherever they occur? And if not now, when? And if not us, who? Our closing words today are from the Reverend William G. Sinkford, who was the former president of the UUA, our collective association, was also one of my professors at Meadville Lombard, and also did the sermon at my ordination. So I share that only to say, remember that although we are not a large denomination, we are small enough that we actually can be connected to the movers and shakers. So if you want to make a change, I know the people to connect you to that can make it grow. So Reverend Sinkford has to say, Spirit of life and love, dear God of all nations, there is so much work to do. We've only begun to imagine justice and mercy. Help us hold fast to our vision of what can be. May we see the hope in our history and find the courage and the voice to work for that constant rebirth of freedom and justice. This is our dream. Amen.